There are different ways of integrating SketchUp into a larger workflow that involves multiple applications. For example, let's say I'm going to design a building in SketchUp, where I can work out all of the volumetric ideas and basically work out everything in 3D. Then I can bring that model into AutoCAD to create construction documents, or I could bring it into Revit architecture to create a building information model. Either way, I would need to have SketchUp Pro in order to export the information from SketchUp to one of these other programs. On the other hand, you might want to go through this workflow the other way around. Let's say you lay out your floor plan in AutoCAD, and then you want to create a 3D model of the building for presentation or for further design work. You can use SketchUp Free to import the DWG file into SketchUp. Of course, it works in the Pro version as well. And then you can use all of the features in SketchUp to design the building. You could then chain that on to the first workflow that I mentioned. Then you take that model back into AutoCAD or Revit or some other program to create a more complete set of documents for a building. Let's see an example. This last summer, I renovated my house, and I started by laying out the plan in AutoCAD, and then I brought that into SketchUp where I made a 3D model. So here's the AutoCAD file. Now all of the things below here are image formats, which aren't going to give you a 3D model at all. The exception down here is an EPIX file, which is specific to the Piranesi application. Up here we have 3 different formats that you can import. A digital elevation model is something you might get from a surveyor. 3ds is a very ancient format back from 3D Studio for DOS, and it's been around forever, so most applications support it. I would use this format if I was bringing in something from 3ds Max. And then there's the DWG and DXF formats, which again are very universal in the industry. Most applications will export to one of these formats. I'll choose Options. And right here, this is quite important, to preserve the drawing origin. This means that if I import this again, it's going to come in exactly the same place. So this is essential if you plan to have multiple design revisions. Choose your scale, which is actually the type of unit set you're using. And you can merge coplanar faces or orient faces. And actually, I don't think I have any faces. All of the work that I did in AutoCAD was just line work. So I'll say OK and import. It takes a minute while SketchUp chews on this. It gives us a progress bar, and then it will report back to us with a little dialog box that tells us how many of the various types of entities that were imported here. OK. I'll go into the top view in parallel projection mode. And we have lots of different stuff that I drew in the course of the renovation. So if I was going to create a 3D model here, I would just start by getting rid of all of the extraneous information. And this is quite typical of most CAD drawings, where you have lots of different information on different layers, and you're not going to need all of it to create your model in SketchUp. Actually, this has some of the line work from the original house, which was a gambrel roof. We got rid of that in the renovation. Let's open the Layers window and see what we have. As is typical of most CAD drawings, you have quite a number of layers here. And it looks like I have different layering standards here. Some of it was drawn in AutoCAD architecture, and some of it was just drafted in plain AutoCAD, so that's why I have different standards. And so the result here is really kind of a mess. Let me just zoom in. Down here I'd like to turn off this layer. So I'm going to select one of the lines and go to Entity Info, and there I can learn that it's on layer Limestone. Okay, let's turn that off. Okay, well that got rid of one of the lines here that I need. So I'm going to turn that back on and select these lines here. I'll change those onto a different layer. Now what layer should I put them on? That's another good question. This is the kind of work that you end up doing when you import drawings from AutoCAD or another CAD program. There's really a lot of cleanup to be done. And some of this can be done in the CAD program where you created the information, or you can take on that task here in SketchUp. There are really 2 different schools of thought when it comes to CAD cleanup. In School A, which I'll call Perfection, all the lines have to touch and close, little extraneous lines need to be deleted, everything needs to be on the right layer, and it's really quite a tall order. For example, right over here, this line doesn't meet the jam. I would have to move that over and make it touch. The stuff about these being on the wrong layers, I'd have to deal with that as well. In School B, which I'm going to call Let It Be, You can just leave all the CAD stuff alone and make it a group so that you can protect it. And then you go ahead and create your SketchUp geometry on top of that, so it's completely separate from the original CAD drawing. I'm gravitating more these days towards School B, and I'm finding it actually faster than trying to clean up everything in the messy CAD drawing. I'll show you both methods so you can choose for yourself. Let me just finish this task related to this one line. I'll select this lower line to learn what layer it's on, layer 2, and then I'll select these lines and place them on layer 2 using entity info. Now I can turn off the limestone layer and we hide that tile work. I'll sort the list by visible so that all of the layers that are off are at the bottom or at the top. I'll hit it again and sort it the other way. Shift select all of these layers that are off, which I don't want to have in my model, and delete them. Delete contents. So whatever's on them is gone for good. And then I'm going to go ahead and select all of the layers and delete them, but this time, instead of deleting their contents, I'll move everything to the current layer, which is layer 0. It looks like there were some layers that were off the edge of the screen. I'll do that again. So now everything is on layer 0. That's going to greatly simplify the cleanup. Once you see what you want on the screen, just reduce everything to one layer. So you won't have to be fighting with layers in addition to fighting with the line work to correct everything. Now I need to go around and sort of painstakingly correct anything like this missing line, this duplicate line right here, difficult to select. I'll zoom in even more. So there's little things like that we need to get rid of. We need to sketch in additional lines in some cases. It looks like this model has the drywall represented, so I need to eliminate that if I don't want to actually model all of the drywall throughout the model, and so on. So it's kind of a tall order. There are some scripts that can help automate some of this process, and let me just show you those in the next video.